Yo, South Africa, we all know that life can be a roller coaster, especially in these challenging times. The economy is tough, jobs are scarce, and many families are struggling to make ends meet. It's a reality that hits home for so many of us. We all know times are tough. The cost of living is rising, and it's becoming harder to stretch that paycheck to cover all the essentials. From groceries to school fees, every cent counts. That's where Sassa comes in, right? They're like the government's helping hand, giving out grants to those who need it most. But here's the thing, Sassa has a big responsibility. They are tasked with ensuring that the aid reaches the right people, those who are genuinely in need. They've got to make sure the money goes to the right people. Think of it like this. Imagine you're giving your little brother some cash for school lunch. You'd want to make sure he's actually using it for bunny chow and not blowing it all on Pokemon cards, right? It's about accountability and making sure resources are used wisely. You'd want to make sure he's actually using it for bunny chow and not blowing it all on Pokemon cards, right? This is exactly what Sassa aims to do with the grants they distribute. They want to ensure that the funds are used for essential needs like food, education, and healthcare. That's what Sassa is doing when they restrict grants to suspicious individuals. They have systems in place to verify and cross-check applications, ensuring that the aid is not misused or diverted to those who don't qualify. They're making sure the money isn't going to scammers or folks who don't really need it. It's a tough job, but it's crucial for maintaining the integrity of the social relief system. By doing this, they protect the resources meant for the most vulnerable. It's about being fair to everyone who's genuinely struggling. Sometimes there might be mistakes. The system isn't perfect, and occasionally deserving individuals might get flagged or denied. Maybe someone got flagged by accident or their situation changed. Life is unpredictable, and circumstances can shift rapidly, affecting one's eligibility for aid. That's why it's important for people to appeal if they think they've been wrongly denied. The appeal process is there to ensure that everyone gets a fair chance to present their case and receive the help they need. Sassa's goal is to help, not to make life harder. They are the guardians of social relief, working tirelessly to support those in need and ensure that every grant makes a meaningful difference in someone's life. So how did this whole R350 grant thing even start? What led to the creation of this crucial financial aid? Well, rewind back to 2020. It was a year that none of us will ever forget. Remember that whole COVID-19 pandemic mess? Yeah, not fun. The world came to a standstill, and South Africa was no exception. The economy went into lockdown, people lost their jobs, and things got real tough, real fast. Businesses shuttered and unemployment rates soared. The government knew they had to do something drastic to help people survive. They couldn't just stand by and watch as millions struggled. That's when the R350 Social Relief of Distress, or SRD grant, was born. It was a bold move aimed at providing immediate relief. It was meant to be a temporary lifeline for those who suddenly found themselves without any income, a way to keep the lights on and food on the table. R350 might not sound like much, but trust me, every little bit helps when you're struggling to put food on the table. For many, it was a glimmer of hope. It was a way to provide some basic relief during an unprecedented crisis, a small but significant step to help people navigate through the storm. And you know what? This R350 grant, it actually made a difference. I'm talking about real people, our fellow South Africans who were able to keep their heads above water because of this grant, single mothers who could finally afford to feed their kids. Young people who could buy data and look for jobs online, families who could keep a roof over their heads for another month. These are the stories that don't always make the headlines, the stories of hope and resilience that prove even a little bit of help can go a long way. Section 4, grant grabbers, scammers in the system. But hey, it wouldn't be South Africa without a little bit of creative hustling, right? Sadly, where there's money involved, there are always going to be those who try to take advantage. And the SRD grant is no exception. We've all heard the stories, people faking IDs, creating bogus applications, even government officials getting in on the action. It's enough to make you lose faith in humanity, I tell you. These scammers aren't just stealing money, they're stealing from the most vulnerable in our society. They're making it harder for people who genuinely need the help to get it, and that's just plain wrong. Section 5, the Balancing Act, grants versus government budgets. Now, here's the thing about grants. They cost money, a lot of money. These grants are essential for many people, providing a lifeline to those who are struggling to make ends meet. But the funds required to sustain these grants don't just appear out of thin air. And that money has to come from somewhere, right? It's a complex process involving various financial mechanisms and revenue streams. Taxes, loans, and other forms of income all contribute to the pool of money that the government uses to fund these grants. That's where the government's budget comes in. The budget is a detailed plan that outlines how the government intends to spend its money over a certain period. It's a balancing act ensuring that all sectors receive adequate funding while also maintaining fiscal responsibility. Think of the government's budget like your household budget. Just as you have to plan and allocate your income to cover various expenses, the government has to do the same on a much larger scale. You've got a certain amount of money coming in each month, and you've got to make it stretch to cover all your expenses. Rent, food, that new PlayStation game you've had your eye on, every expense needs to be justified and prioritized. The SRD grant is an added expense. It's like an unexpected bill that suddenly appears, demanding attention and resources. It's like suddenly having an extra mouth to feed at the dinner table. You have to find a way to stretch your resources even further to accommodate this new need. And while the government wants to help, they also have to be mindful of the bigger picture. They need to ensure that their financial decisions are sustainable in the long run. They got to make sure there's enough money for education, healthcare, infrastructure. These are critical areas that require consistent and substantial investment, all the important stuff. Balancing grants and the overall budget is a delicate act, requiring careful planning and foresight to ensure that all needs are met without compromising the country's financial health. Section 6, Beyond Reliance, Empowering South Africa. So what's the solution? Well, we can't just keep throwing money at the problem forever. Don't get me wrong, grants are crucial, especially in times of crisis, but they shouldn't be a permanent solution. We need to empower people to become self-sufficient. That means investing in education and skills development, creating more job opportunities, supporting small businesses and entrepreneurs. It's about giving people the tools they need to fish, instead of just handing them a fish every month. It's a long-term investment for sure, but it's an investment worth making. Section 7, Striking a Balance, Support and Sustainability. Look, the bottom line is this: we need to find a balance. A balance between providing a safety net for those who need it most, while also being fiscally responsible and building a more sustainable future for South Africa. It's about cracking down on corruption and making sure the grant system is efficient and fair. It's about investing in our people and creating an environment where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. It's a challenge, no doubt. But hey, we're South Africans. We've overcome bigger challenges before, and with a little bit of Ubuntu, I know we can do it again.